Hey, community, Aubrey with DevCentral here, and I'm joined by Hoon Wei from NCS. We're going to talk a little bit about artificial intelligence. How you doing, Hoon?
I'm very good. Thanks, Aubrey. Thanks for having me here.
Oh, you bet. Thank you for getting together with me. It's always a fun time to spend your morning and my night. So
Yeah,
that's such is the globe, though. So we'll
yeah,
just kind
yeah.
of it's actually kind of convenient. I mean, at this time, really nothing's going on. Everything's pretty quiet in my studio,
Mhm.
and it just works out.
Yeah,
So
likewise. I mean, it's 8:30 in the morning here, right? So
people are just getting started with morning coffee, tea,
exactly, yeah, yeah,
coffee. Yeah. Right.
yeah.
I used to have like 20 cups of coffee a day, and now I'm down to two,
Wow,
just
wow.
two. But that's part of getting older. Anyways, um, so I guess my job here is to kind of educate the community a little bit on not just artificial intelligence and what's out there in the field, but a little bit also on what kind of stuff you do. So if you want to give the community a little bit of an introduction on both NCS and yourself, I'd love to start there if we could.
Yeah, sure. So NCS is the largest system integrator in Singapore. So within NCS, um, one of the key pillars is cybersecurity business. So I'm part of NCS Cyber, and my role is to, I mean, I run a team focusing on R&D and special ops, right, where we focus on identifying and incubating emerging technologies and solutions, right? Around, I mean, recent hot topics would be AI is definitely one of them. Right? The other emerging topic of interest is quantum, right? Quantum security. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So that's what I'm looking at recently.
So you have the fun topics
Yeah, yeah,
you,
yeah.
that you have to take care
Yeah,
of.
it's fun, but it's not fun at all, right? I mean, lot of uncertainty, and it's sometimes not clear how to navigate things and so on. But you're right. It's fun that things are evolving quickly,
Ooh, yeah.
and we have to learn things quickly, and it's quite interesting to see how the ecosystem evolve and all that, and what role can NCS play, right, in this space.
I agree. It's funny too for me. I sometimes hear, yeah, in the news and things like that. There are some folks that I've heard talk about quantum computing, saying, "Well, when quantum computing hits, AI will be kind of worthless. Quantum computing will be much more valuable." And other people will say, I've heard say the complete opposite of that. Like quantum will be irrelevant because AI will just take care of all this stuff, and it's the best thing
Yeah,
that's in sliced
yeah,
bread. I think the two technologies should just will be merged, and eventually you'll have AI
exactly.
that relies on
Yeah,
quantum technology as well. There's no
yeah.
reason why we couldn't do that.
Yeah,
So
in fact, AI can enhance and accelerate quantum computing, and vice versa as well. Right? Quantum computing can be used to enhance and accelerate adoption of AI as well. Yeah. So I do think that eventually both will converge in some form. Yeah.
me too. I just can't wait for that. That's going to be a heck of a day. I actually had a quantum conversation um, with a woman named Daniela Pontes, who's a pretty big researcher in quantum computing, and that we talked about. Honest to gosh, we were talking about quantum networking, and when she used the word teleportation, I almost fainted. That's a real thing. Like, oh, okay, we're gonna be teleporting packets. Okay, that's fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Um, so it's like for me, I feel like I don't know. There was maybe a period of time within the past decade or so where I've been in the industry for a bit now, for something like 30 years or so. But the past 10 years for me have been kind of like I haven't seen a lot of change, and now it's like you
Mm.
can barely keep up with the change week to week. There's some new thing that is happening with AI or some new thing that's happening with quantum computing, and so I think the next 5 years for us are all like going to be very exciting as we watch this
Yeah,
unfold.
absolutely. Yeah.
So what kinds of things are your customers doing with artificial intelligence today? I mean, so many people say, well, it's a chat bot, right? That's it. We're just putting up chat bots. But
Mhm.
that's not every project. I mean, some people are putting together agentic flows and things like that where you're
Mhm.
really working with, programs interfacing with other programs and models that, are going to need to talk to each other and things like that. What
Mm.
what kind of stuff are you seeing, or is it more of the basics, adding chat functionality to pre-existing stuff, or what kind of stuff is out there for you customer wise?
Yeah, I mean, from what we observe and from what we know from our interactions with our clients, um, I think we are still in a transition phase, because generative AI is very new.
Oh, yeah.
Though it's very exciting to many people, but I would say it's still at a very exploratory stage at this moment. People are very cautious about what kind of cybersecurity risks that this may introduce. Right? In terms of use cases or applications, I mean, two of the most common use cases that I see so far is that one is around the use of chatbot for HR purposes, right?
For human resources.
For human resources,
Hmm.
or customer service, right? Customer facing
Service, yeah.
chatbot. Right? Yeah.
Yep, it gives you the
So the use of
illusion.
chatbot is definitely one.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
gives you the illusion that they're always open when there's that AI chatbot.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. The other common one is using um, generative AI or large language model as a code development assistant.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yep.
so that's another common use case that I've seen. Yeah.
Are by chance are there any models out there that you prefer more than others for code development? I'm just curious.
Uh, I mean, not personally. I mean, yeah,
I've
not
had mixed
personally.
results. My best stuff that I found was on Mixtral. That was able to generate, not only I rules for F5, but was able to
Uh-huh.
really easily
Okay.
generate
Okay.
some Python code, and I even had
Mhm.
it generate some Perl just to kind of go way back in the archives and see what it knew from the past.
Yeah.
So that for
We,
me,
we have seen, yeah, we have seen clients using Mixture, Llama Guard as well. These are the pretty good ones, I would say. Yeah.
cool. Yeah, it's funny. Not, I mean, everyone thinks of ChatGPT for the most part, or Claude,
Mm.
I think,
Yeah.
but there's other stuff out there that is really good for other use cases, and I
Yeah.
think it's neat to talk about them. But
Yeah.
you mentioned that there are some security risks which this introduces.
Mm. Mm.
I have been part of the OWASP top 10 for LLM applications since it was in beta. So I was a founding
Mhm.
member of that project.
Mm.
Been paying very close attention to what kinds of, what kinds of threats there are out there for artificial intelligence. And I'm wondering, I'm always curious to know what kinds of things people are actually seeing in the wild. And if you
Mm.
haven't seen any yourself, have your customers seen any of these kinds of threats that you hear about out in the news today?
Yeah. Um, I mean, from our research in the lab, we know that there are a lot of things like prompt injection data sets out there. And so I won't be surprised if there are people who at least try to experiment, try out whether this data sets would work, and maybe for testing purposes, right? Um, but in reality, I think the real concerns that we heard from our clients are usually around leakage of or exposure of sensitive information. Like, for example, if then they are sort of in a dilemma whether or not to allow their employees to get access to public LLM, right? Whether it's for the purpose of whether it's for general purpose of code generation, so on and so forth. Right? So I think one of the key concern is, would employees intentionally or unintentionally reveal certain sensitive data, right? through maybe uploading certain proprietary source code information, right? Or even some employee sensitive data as well. Right? So that's one. The other key concern that we observe is about the output, right? Insecure output from LLM, right?
Big time.
I mean, in terms of the code generation use case that I mentioned earlier, we don't know whether the code is safe, whether it contains certain bugs or even some harmful content, right? Yeah. So these are the common concerns that we heard from the clients.
That's interesting. I don't end up talking enough about about the leakage aspect in my day to day, but I have actually worked with a customer on a project that they were looking to really defend against that. It was intriguing that we could essentially use a model to detect what is in this prompt that could be proprietary in nature, and then actually kind of have a secondary model kind of
Oh,
put that in a
okay.
box and then hash it and send a hash instead of sending the proprietary data. And then when it receives back data, it just kind of has a hash for what,
Okay.
but that sort of thing is an interesting way to get around it. I know
Okay.
that we've worked with a couple of companies to try and get a good solution going for that sort of thing. And I know we've worked with a couple of security companies that are working on that as like their primary bread and butter as well. So that's a really neat one.
Okay. Sounds like quite a reasonable countermeasures. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's hard to know, whether or not that is being effective all the time unless you've got somebody watching it, so you still need
Some sort
human
of
oversight.
check, right? What you mentioned, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, with regards to the output, that's a funny one because I think people trust this stuff way too much, and there have been especially with vibe coding as a thing. I don't know if your customers are vibe coding and actually just like it sounds like they are if they're generating code with a large language model,
Yeah.
but without checking code, we've had so many instances of people like putting bad
Mm.
code like that in production. We've also had instances where we have seen, at least in OWASP, we've seen this, um, where um, a bunch of different models have actually hallucinated the
Mm.
same package.
Mm.
So if they'll tell you, hey, I need a dependency for this code to work right, and they come up with this package. But the weird thing is having multiple models, it wasn't just Claude, it was also GPT, and a bunch of the other major ones have done the same thing, where they've sort of just kind of imagined a project out there. Well, we had a couple hackers got cute and made that project because they found out that for whatever reason, this thing kept being repeatedly hallucinated by models. So they made that project and used it to inject bad code in
I see.
a whole bunch of different software packages. So
That's
so that
interesting.
that is
Yeah.
really, yeah, that's a really scary one.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so then there's this concept of AI gateways that can help out with some of these threats, right? And F5, obviously, we have an AI gateway. We're very, very happy to have that. I'm very proud of it. What kind of stuff are you doing? How are you working with F5's AI gateway to
Mm.
kind of mitigate some of these things?
Yeah. Um, okay. So to us, as far as AI security is concerned, continuous monitoring is key. But and we felt that AI gateway could be a first line of defense. Right? Could be a key component in a multi-layer defense approach, where we analyze and filter input to and output from LLMs, for example. Right. So that's on the security part. Right? How do we? I mean, we can see AI gateways as a proxies, right? Just like API gateway or even DLP solutions, right? Where you can track, monitor usage of sensitive data, even to prevent leakage of sensitive data. So it's more like a policy enforcement and also protection layer, right, between your users and LLMs. So that's more on AI security. The other key benefits of AI gateway I see is that around cost optimization, right? So AI gateway allows you to control your cost, control usage,
Yep.
right? What is that you want to allow your users to use or not to use, right? And also to route your request to different types of LLMs, right? Yeah. So traffic management, cost management, yeah.
I like that cost management aspect. One of those things I was hoping we would get to is semantic cache, but I'm hopeful still. I think semantic cache will be very, very helpful. You mentioned cost management.
Mm.
I don't know if you've ever seen it. I have a podcast called AI Friday, and not too long ago we did an episode, and we were talking about how much it costs to say thank you to your language model, because people, in large part, whether they're just saying thank you because they're polite, or whether they're saying thank you because they fear the apocalypse and they want the AI to understand that they're very polite and nice, and AI friendly, whatever that is, people tend to say thank you and please and all this politeness, but that ends up costing quite a bit of money. We calculated, one of the guys on my podcast calculated it was something like 18 hours of an LED light bulb being burned
Wow.
just to get a response for the thank you.
Wow.
That's a lot. I mean, we probably don't need to do that. So we had one of the other engineers on the show was saying, well, if we had semantic cache, we could just cache several different responses for thank you, intercept the thank you, and never ever put that to a GPU ever.
That's right. Yeah, I think that makes a lot more sense. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
does. I think we'll see that soon, though. That's got to be a thing. It really does. Semantic cache cuts down on a lot of different things. Of course,
Is that on the roadmap of FI?
I don't know. Ed, you're backstage. Is that on the roadmap, semantic cache still?
Yeah.
I can't. I don't know. It's been a bit. I don't know if that'll make it into our product, but we have done so many different things with cache in the past. It would surprise me if we didn't see that at some point, or partner with somebody to offer it. So, okay. Well, it seems like you've got a lot of stuff going on with artificial intelligence. I love hearing about it. And I want to thank you for your time today, Hoon. It was great to have you, on DevCentral. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day.
Pleasure. Yeah. Hope to talk to you again.
Yeah, likewise. And thank you very much, community, for tuning in. We appreciate everything that you do to support us. So please click like and subscribe, and you'll continue to get all kinds of great updates and information from DevCentral. For now, I'm Aubrey with DevCentral, and I'll see you around, I guess.